Perfect. Well, welcome to this week's First Timers program, but also just the Wildflower program in general. So, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I am really excited about this guest speaker that we have tonight, and she's coming all the way actually from across the country. And also from another country. So, Michellie Jones is with us tonight, an Australian triathlete. She's won two ITU Triathlon World Championships and an Olympic silver medalist, 2006 World Champion. She's a gold medalist in 2016. And also, most excitingly, probably, she's announced at Wildflower before. So she is very familiar with the event itself. She's been there. She's been a part of our Wildflower family and a part of the community and around the sport for many years. And we'd like to thank Tridot for the connection with this one and bringing her to us tonight. She is a part of their program and has been a real important part to the Limitless program that's been a part of what they've been doing. So I would like to, without further ado, just go ahead and welcome Michellie Jones tonight. And Tridot has a lot of stuff in store for you tonight with her, as well as a panel they're going to have. So, Michellie, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of an idea of what you're up to right now, as well as kind of what kind of inspired you to want to come on and talk about Wildflower.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Colleen. What's not to love about triathlon, for one, and the opportunity to say hi to everyone and definitely give you some thoughts tonight. I am a little bit earlier than most people right now. It's about 3:30 a.m. where I am. But I was more than happy to jump on a call and more than happy to answer some questions too at the end of my little talk. But I think one of the reasons why I wanted to come on because Wildflower, it's such a part of triathlon history, and I'm a big believer in teaching history and embracing it. And Wildflower was around, I think, for how many years, Colleen? How many years is Wildflower around before we
It
had a little
started in
tiny hiatus?
1983, but with
Yeah.
our little hiatus, we're actually in our 38th anniversary.
Oh my goodness, that's like my triathlon birthday. I always have a triathlon birthday. It's how many years you've been doing triathlon. So yeah, like it has such an amazing history from all the pros that turned out to that tradition of camping. And I think, there's other races, but there was nothing like the Wildflower Triathlon Festival. And it's so great that it's coming back again. And as I said, it's not just a race, it's an experience. It offers so much in terms of you can do lots of different distances. There's swimming, and if you want to take your mountain bike, you could go and do some mountain biking. And I think that's what I love about it. It's not just about one particular distance, it's that whole community involvement, the feel of camping. It's such a beautiful location, the fact that everyone comes together basically and you'll eat as a big community and you're cheering for everyone. And the course too. Let's not forget the course because I think that's what makes Wildflower so challenging as well. I love a challenge, and triathlon is a challenge, but the fact that this course, it's raw, it has a lot of honesty, it's demanding, but it's something that you can achieve. Like you're going to look at it and go, oh my goodness, you'll get there when you get there and you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to climb up that hill? But that's why we sign up. We don't sign up for easy. We definitely sign up for a challenge. But this is so unique as well because that energy, being at the boat ramp, seeing the transition, seeing everyone camp. I have to tell you one story before I go on anymore. I was a couple of years ago, I was in Wildflower and I was camping like everyone else. And I was in the shower and this girl goes, oh my goodness, I'm having a shower with Michellie Jones. And I'm like, ah. But it was one of those stories I'll always tell because you sometimes don't appreciate how impactful you are. And it was a little scary, but it was also one of those moments where I'm like, that's pretty cool that somebody respects everything that I've done in my career, and I'm just like everyone else. I love racing. I still race to this day, and I think that's the feeling, right? That everyone is part of something bigger than their own race. And I think that really resonates with so many people for this particular festival. But I'm just going to share a couple of thoughts on the course. This race doesn't give you anything for free, although I often preach free speed. And there's definitely free speed when you're coming back down the hill into transition. You're going to climb that hill when you get out of the water. Just remember to pace yourself, get your heart rate down a little bit. Try not to rush through the transition from T1 onto your bike. Chill out. That first climb, it will challenge you, but it's one of the fun parts about the course. The run will also challenge you. And I'm always like, think about breathing, think about good posture, think about good technique. I often tell people, in a race, remember to breathe, remember to pivot, and remember one step at a time. And I think that's one of the reasons why this course is so rewarding because, yeah, it has its challenges, but the atmosphere makes up for it. And, you don't just finish Wildflower, you actually earn it. And I mean, we talk a lot about earning finish lines, but this one is definitely one that you will remember. And you are going to tell so many great stories about all the people that you met, that whole festival atmosphere, the camping experience, how beautiful it is. And, it's like I always remember these things about Wildflower. The early mornings, when you're walking down to the water, I love that adrenaline. I still get nervous, and I've been racing for 38 years and I still get nervous, but I love that. It's that buzz of the transition before the start. The cheers as you're going up some of the grades. I mean, there is a grade called nasty grade, but that's usually for the longer distance athletes. But this is what makes it fun because it's iconic. And I really love this because I love that feeling. And I mean, most of us do. We love that feeling of digging deep, when it gets hard and realizing then you're way stronger than you ever thought. And I think that is something that I always take away from every race that I do. Yeah, I've got that little chimp brain that's sitting there and doubting me. And like I think throughout my entire career, I've always been that person that I'm going to prove you wrong. Even my little chimp brain, every time I do a race, it's going to tell me, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you do this? And it's definitely amazing what you can achieve. And I think most of all, as I said, it's the people. And triathlon is so people orientated. It's that big family. And I think, they're the things that I really respect about this race. And, it's like I always tell people, be a little patient on the bike, respect that part of the course. Don't go out too hard. Definitely you pace yourself. There are some free speed moments on some of those downhills. Squeeze the top tube, get as low as you can, stay relaxed. And the run's sort of the same. There are going to be some parts of that course where you have to be patient, that your heart rate's going to be elevated. But again, stay patient. Use those descents when you can. And, I think I always tell people, expect the unexpected. Race scenarios are never a straight path. There's always going to be challenge you. Expect that it's going to be probably a little bit tougher than any other races that you've ever done. But, that's part of this experience. And, don't judge your race too early because I think Wildflower is a really good judge of who stays composed. When you're struggling
and you're like doubting yourself, it's like, remember all the training you did to get here. Remember all the hard things you've done. And as I said, don't judge this race too early because this finish line is really special. That atmosphere and all the people waiting for you to come back in on the bike and then waiting you to cross the finish. I don't know, we cross a lot of finish lines, but there's something about this race. And I often tell my athletes, we've all done the work. We all belong to this start line. It's like, and Wildflower isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. It's about embracing the challenge, connecting with the people around you. And what I love the most, and I will often do this even before I finish, it, it's that story you tell. It's like when I'm racing, I have that little story that I'm starting to like build in my head of, oh my goodness, on the swim, this happened, on the bike, this happened, on the run, this happened. And then I finished and it was the best thing ever. And I think that's the really important part, right? About racing. Training's hard, racing's easy. And if you get the opportunity to take it all in, enjoy it and respect it, because triathlon's one of the most humbling sports in the world. And it's like just when I think I've mastered the sport and I've been doing this for a long time, it'll turn around and kick me in the butt. And I think that's what keeps me coming back again and again. And I think it's really races like this that stay with you for an eternity. And I've done many big races over the years, getting to race the Olympic, being Australia's first ever silver medalist, not just for triathlon, but for the entire country. I won Australia's first medal. And then, of course, like guiding at the Paralympics, getting that opportunity to help Katie Kelly win gold in Rio as a sight and hearing impaired athlete. Like unbelievable experiences. But Wildflower, it's like, I mean, there's nothing like it. And I'm so glad that it's back. And I'm so glad you guys have all signed up. And when you cross that finish line, you're going to get exactly what I'm saying. Because as I said, this race is like no other. It'll stay with you. There's lots of stories that you're going to tell, and you're going to want to sign up and do another one. So yeah, so I just wanted to leave it at that, and more than happy to answer some questions. Um, Definitely, I have some. I've raced this course. I've raced the mountain bike try in the past. I've done the swimming in the past. I've done the Olympic distance in the past. I haven't got to the 70.3 distance yet, but maybe that's something that I need to put on my to-do list. And yeah, it's just one of those races that I always wanted to do, and I definitely have. I'm a little sad that I'm not going to be in the country to do it this year, but I know you guys are all going to have so many stories that you're going to share for the rest of your life.
Now, Michellie, you talked about the finish line so much with being an athlete as well as, being on that side of things. And then you were an announcer at our race. So tell a little bit about your experience as far as announcing the race and being able to call each person's name as they're coming across the line, not only from the elite level, because you got to announce several elites coming across the line, and a lot of those elites are up and coming elites that then it was like it was their launching pad into their next professional wins. And then, but it was also the amateurs that were coming across. So talk a little bit about your experience as an announcer there.
Let me tell you, it's way easier racing than announcing. And announcing is hard. It's like when you've been on the other side of it, I always try to thank those people because, it's like the energy that you have to create, making sure you're pronouncing everyone's names correctly. And, for me, I never get my name pronounced correctly. I blame my parents for being bad spellers, but I've been Michellie, 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 Michelle. I used to not be able to pronounce my own name, so I used to call myself me Makiki Bum. So yeah, but I love being on that side as well, and I've got to do it like live, like at Wildflower, and yeah, I get nervous. It's so funny. It's like that adrenaline. It's like I think it's just like now part of my DNA. It's like I go to a race, and it doesn't matter if I'm racing or announcing. I feel the energy, and there's just something about it, and that opportunity to like see and reflect and encourage. I think that's the part that I really love about the announcing side of, yeah, we're sharing information like where you need to be, what's happening second, minute, hour by hour. It's like we're making sure you get into the start line on time. We're making sure that we're counting you down for the start exactly when you need to go. We're answering questions. There's so much stuff that is going on. And it's sort of fun then to like tell some of the stories that's happening out there, keeping the crowd updated, what's happening out there. And, that opportunity definitely to call some pros across the finish line is great. But, I love seeing age groupers just like me crossing that line. Um, I know what it feels like to get across that line. I know the effort that's been put into to getting across that line. And I think that's the fun part about it, that opportunity to like recognize someone and realize, and for them to realize this is something special. Like a finish line isn't something that everyone gets to do. And I think as an announcer, I think it's really good that we give this opportunity to like put the spotlight on somebody who may not necessarily get the spotlight, because as I said, it's one of those things where triathlon resonates in so many ways, but it's like it's one of those only races where it doesn't matter if you're a pro, an age group, or a first time, someone struggling with something in their regular life. Triathlon is sort of that equalizer. Everyone has to swim, bike, and run. It doesn't matter who you are. To get across that finish line, we all have to do the same thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why, when I had the opportunity to be one of the announcers at Wildflower, I put my hand up because it's nice to be on the other side. It's nice to get good perspective and a different perspective. But definitely, I love to race, and
Yeah. I remember you telling the team that like I think I'm more nervous doing this than when I'm racing. So
yeah, there's a
so
lot of
how
pressure.
did you
Yeah.
handle those nerves? Like, because that's probably what a lot of people on this call are looking like. For you, racing is pretty natural,
Oh no,
but
I get
for
nervous.
announcing, it was like, oh, this was like you were really nervous when you came out
Yeah.
with the team and stuff like that. So how do you handle those nerves?
Yeah, it's like a race, right? You've got to like relax, breathe, know exactly where you need to be and what you need to say. It's very similar to triathlon in terms of navigating those nerves. It's like you get nerves because you care. It's part of the fun fact. It's like I'm always like, those butterflies that are in your stomach, they just getting into formation and getting ready to battle. And it's the same thing on the other side. It's like, you know what? It's like, this is my battle. This is my formation. And, I just try to like do the best that I can. And I think it's the same with triathlon. On the day, nothing's going to be perfect. Just try to have the best swim you can have on the day. I want to try to be the best announcer I can be on the day. I'm going to try to do the bike to the best of my ability on that day, and the same on the run. And crossing that finish line, the energy that the announcers provide. I mean, that's part of it, right? It's part of creating that atmosphere. But it's definitely easy when you see these big, huge smiles as people are crossing, and you're seeing the struggles. It doesn't matter if you're first or you're the final finisher. There's always something that is going to test you. Like triathlon is a life lesson, and announcing is a life lesson, right? You've got to perfect. You're trying to get the most out of what you're available to provide, and it's a two-way street. And I love the fact when, when people are coming down that finish line and they're doing crazy stuff. I'm like, yes, I love it. I love it. It's like embrace that finish line. I mean, that's the fun part when you're announcing and you see someone like maybe coming in for a sprint with somebody else, or maybe like it's high-fiving their family, or maybe it's like doing cartwheels across the line. Whatever it is, it's like make the most of that finish line. Um, I told Katie Kelly that when we were coming in to win the gold medal in Rio. I like she was like trying to sprint to get across the finish line. I'm going, we have plenty of time. Let's make the most of this. How many times in your life, I told her, do you get to cross the finish line first, win the gold medal at the Olympics? And so make Wildflower your Olympics. Every race should be your Olympics because a finish line is something very sacred and we should all celebrate it. I don't care if it's your local race or the Olympics. Finishing is what we're here to do. We signed up. We want to get across that finish line because they're the feelings that keep driving us and keep pushing us.
Yeah, and there's a reason that our finish line is so long, and that was very intentional in our planning process about making sure that we had that very long finish chute lined with flags, lined with family, and so you can make it that whole way through so that you have that opportunity to reflect on probably the only part of the course that's totally flat, but you have the whole finish line to enjoy that. So I'll let
It
you
is,
go ahead
it
and
is a,
see.
yeah, it is one of the best finish lines. It's like, and as I said, make the most of it. I want to make sure after that race, Colleen rings me up and goes, "Oh my goodness, you should have seen the finish line. You should have seen all the fun that was happening."
Yes, I mean, that's one of the things that even the pros used to always talk about is they loved going down the finish line, but after they won, they loved coming back down the finish line and doing the high fives with everybody down the finish line. So, it's a
Yeah, and,
celebration.
and I always tell people, be happy with the race you had, not the race you wished you had. I mean, that is so important. Like so many people, I was like, oh my God, I was so disappointed with my race, blah, blah, blah. Come on, like make the most of the day you were given. That's all you have to do. And that's in my book, that is a win-win.
Yeah, well, we got lots of great pieces of advice just out of even chatting at that, but I want to open it up to others who may have questions for you as far as with your racing experience. I mean, you've been in all different kinds of circumstances over the years. So you've done open water swims, ocean swims, hills, flats, all of it. So let's see here.
I think there was a wetsuit question in the chat. I did see that. Um, Definitely, I mean, it's going to be a little bit cooler in the mornings. I don't know what the air temperature is going to be at some of the start times, but yeah, if you're comfortable swimming in a wetsuit, I definitely would recommend, if the water temperature allows it, to swim in a wetsuit. Definitely practice swimming in a wetsuit. If you don't have a wetsuit, you can do like a little cold immersion if the water's going to be a little bit colder. Definitely remember the rule. There are rules that at a certain temperature you have to wear a wetsuit no matter what. But having a cold shower leading up to the race, splashing your face with water right before you get into the start chute is really good to acclimatizing a little bit. And I think the number one thing for the swim, make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you see where all the buoys and buoys are, that you navigate. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend a wetsuit if the temperature allows it, for sure.
Yes, and for anybody that's on this call that is wondering about the swim, we will have clinics all day on Friday. So between 12 and 5 p.m., the swim buoys will be out there and you'll be able to acclimate to the water and test out and try swimming in that wetsuit and making sure that you know where the course is, you know where the direction is, you know how to sight the buoys and those sort of things.
Thanks, Barb. I wish you were racing so I can stay on your feet, not the other way around.
Okay, there's a question from Dana
Let's
Stevenson.
see.
What is your recommendation do you have for the first cycling hill after the swim for the first timers? So for going up Lynch Hill after,
Yeah,
what is your
yeah.
advice?
So my first thing is don't rush the transition from this. There's a slight ramp when you actually also run out of the water, so that's going to spike your heart rate. It's like I always tell people, like smooth is fast is smooth. So when you're going into the transition, like don't rush it. Like just like know exactly where you need to be and where your bike is. Make sure you're in the correct gearing. I think that's the number one thing, that when you put your bike in that transition, make sure you're in the correct gear for climbing that hill. And neuromuscular wise, because you've been swimming and then you're going to run into transition and then you'll get on the bike and then you'll go straight up the hill. So the hill will probably feel a little bit harder than it really is, just because your brain and your muscles have to connect really quick, because all of a sudden you've got the load of the bike and you've got gravity and you're going uphill. So it's like being in the correct gear, making sure that you're give yourself enough time to clip in so that you are getting enough power to the pedals, staying relaxed, make sure you're looking where you're going, making sure you're staying to the curbside so people can go past you if needed. But the main thing is, like, you know, if you get there a little bit earlier, practice that hill once, practice the descent as well. And it's like a lot of people, like when they're descending, it's like they're grabbing onto the brakes, which is fine. Go to the pace that you need, but the lower you can get and squeezing that top tube on the descent on the way down is going to help your center of gravity and help keep your bike stable. But the biggest thing with that hill is making sure you're in the correct gear and making sure that you stay relaxed and that you remember it's going to feel slightly harder than if you were a little bit warmed up. Even though you are warmed up after the swim, your body's got to change into a different muscle requirement, so that neuromuscular connection will seem just a little bit harder. But pacing is always everything on the hill. You don't want to overspin the gear, but you don't want to also have too much gearing. It's sort of finding that perfect balance.
Now, you did bring up a little bit about clipping into your bike, and that is the next question that we have is we have everything on this call from sprint to Olympic to long course athletes that's there. So we do have somebody that's asking, should we have clip-in shoes for the bike? And what is your opinion? You probably need to answer that kind of for the sprint athletes, for the Olympic, and then for the long course athletes.
I mean, it's one of those things where, if you're used to having clip-in shoes, yeah. If you're not, then don't. If that was part of the question, but it's like, if in terms of clipping in to climb up that hill, yeah, I mean, definitely you want to be clipped in. I mean, some people may not feel as confident, but that's why, you practice it. So you know what that hill's going to feel like. And definitely it's much safer to be clipped in. But it's also knowing that you can get out of that pedal if you need to as well. So it comes down to, what's your comfort level? What do you feel most comfortable doing? I think that's the most important thing. And I think the other thing is, like, if you are feel like, you are losing a little bit of steam and energy and you need to clip out, it's going to be much harder trying to start back if you clip out on that hill and stop. You're going to basically have to walk your bike up that hill. So it's better to muscle it down a little bit if you can, but it always comes down to a personal comfort level.
Yeah, and make sure that you're practicing clipping out of the. I've seen several people come into the dismount lines at the event and then fall over at the dismount line because they haven't
Oh yeah.
practiced clipping
That
out.
dis that dismount line, like, it's amazing how many people don't go and check out where that mount and dismount line actually is. And like when you're standing at that dismount line, it's like you've got to stop and get off your bike before you cross the line, not after. That's going to give you a penalty. But yeah, like, don't come in too hot. It's like if you put like too much front brake, obviously that's not good. If you put too much back brake, that's not good. That's why we have two brakes.
Yeah, somebody did ask you to explain a little bit more what you mean about leaning into the top tube.
I was so it's squeezing your knees into the top tube to stabilize yourself. So when you're not actually pedaling, if you're using just like a free pedaling, if you squeeze your knees into the top tube and get low, that's going to help stabilize your bike rather than sitting up. And the more nervous you are, the more energy that's going to create that goes against you. So you want to stay nice and relaxed. You want to breathe. You want to get as low as you can. And you also want to squeeze that top tube with your knees. So that'll help stabilize your bike.
Okay, perfect. And then we did have somebody asking about, can we do a zigzag if there is no one passing up the hills while biking?
I mean, as a safety thing, it's like you never know what's happening behind you. It's better to hold your line. That's the one thing in cycling that I tell everyone. It's like hold your line. And in triathlon, the rules say you have to stay over to the right side of the road. So yeah, I mean, sometimes up a hill, you have to zigzag, but like I don't recommend it just because you never know what's happening behind you. It's like the rules state that you have to stay over unless you're passing. Yeah.
Perfect. And then we do have somebody that commented on here. Actually, Reed, one of our ambassadors, said if you have speed play pedals, be sure to lubricate the bindings. So, can you talk about a little bit about prepping their bike ahead of time and getting ready for race day, things that they should be doing to prep their gear, not only their bike, but prep wetsuit, prep your bike, prep your goggles, any of those sort of things that you do to get ready for race day?
Well, number one, always try all your equipment. Unlike me at the Olympics, where I actually would love to run in a brand new pair of shoes, and I got to the morning Olympics and I put my shoes on, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they say they're a size 9, and they're like a size 7.5, even though it's the same brand, the same style. So definitely never try anything new. But like prep is everything, details matter. It's like make sure you go to the bike shop and get your bike looked over. You want to make sure your brakes are working correctly. You want to make sure that your tires are in good condition. You want to make sure that, yeah, you give your bike a spa treatment. It's like it should be clean when you race. I don't know how many times I've been to a race and I see that bikes are not clean. Um, it's like a car, right? You can wash it with soap and water as long as you dry it, as long as you lube that train. That's free speed right there. So, and when you get to the race, again, make sure your brakes are working. Make sure there's no glass or debris in your tires. Make sure all the bolts are tight. I think they're the big things. Things happen, and with good details, safety is important. So making sure that your bike works, it's clean, it's functional, and you feel confident that when you get on that bike, it's very reliable. So yeah, check, recheck, and recheck to make sure it's in good working condition.
Yeah, and Brandy even mentioned wax your chain ahead of time. That's just another piece of advice there. So now we do have Ryan that asked a good question. He asked, how early do you usually get up prior to a race start for a long course? And do you get breakfast, bio breaks, get ready, all of those sort of things? So a little bit about your morning routine.
Yeah, so morning routine, like for me, it's the same. It's been the same for years and years because like I'm a big believer in like knowing exactly where I need to be, when I need to be somewhere, what I'm going to be doing every minute leading up to that race because it gives me a nice calm. So in terms of like waking up for a long course race, I mean, some people like a little bit more time, so it could be 3 hours, it could be 2 hours. I mean, in that time, you got to make sure you're eating exactly what you need. The fueling for the day is really important that you are fueling before the race. Um, I always try to give myself plenty of time in transition. If something goes wrong, making sure you're checking your tire pressure, rechecking your brakes. Um, Silica has a really good website where you can actually check how much tire pressure that you actually need. It's usually written on your tire as well, whether you have tubeless or you have tubes. Um, they're important things. So for me, if I was doing a longer race, I get up 3 hours before. I will eat, for me personally, it's oatmeal and maybe some peanut butter and banana on toast. Then I'm going to be sipping on hydration all the way up to the race. 30 minutes before, I'm going to take some more grams of carbohydrate. That might be chews, it might be a banana, it might be some gels. Some people like to do a gel 15 minutes before. Um, and then, again, it's like prepping that nutrition, right? It's like create a race plan where you know what time you're getting up. You know what you're going to be doing if you're going to be doing a warm up. A lot of athletes don't do a warm up before a race. I love doing a warm up because again, it gives me something to do. The hotter the race, um, the less time I'm going to be spending on the warm up because I don't want to be getting too hot too soon. I want to save that for the race. Um, but yeah, going through a race plan, like knowing what your paces are going to be, knowing how many grams of carbohydrates that you're going to be having for all the disciplines, what you practice in training is what you're going to be doing in the race. Um, and then, when you get to transition, I usually give myself at least an hour. And it's amazing how quickly that time goes because, by the time you check your bike, by the time you set up the transition, by the time, you make sure you've got your nutrition all on board, making sure that you get your wetsuit on, making sure you're using a lot of body glide. For me, I always also body glide all over my feet and between my toes just to ensure that I don't get a blister. Um, and knowing where every direction is, like where I'm going to be swimming in from, where I'm going to be biking out, where I'm going to be running in, and all the exits. I think, all that takes a little bit of time. And even before the race, you can do it. But once all those bikes are in the racks, and it can look completely different. So navigating that transition and knowing exactly what it's going to look like with no bikes, with a lot of bikes, with half the bikes. It's really good to visualize all that. And I tell people, like, even the day before, take a little video of where your bike is. Take a little video of that exit. So then, when you're doing a little mental rehearsal, you can go back and do all that. And it's right there. It's like, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't remember, blah, blah, blah. And like that little video can be very reassuring. But yeah, just mapping it out exactly how long it's going to take you to walk from the camp, whatever camp you're staying at, campsite, how long that's going to take to get there. That's something new that most people wouldn't even like think about, that extra time to walk from your campsite into the race.
That's perfect. Now we have a question from Reed there, which is one of our ambassadors. So Reed, you want to go ahead and unmute and you can ask your question?
Yeah, well, it was more of a comment there. Just
Yeah.
when we're talking about clean bikes, Wildflower is unique in that you mix camping and triathlon. And next week, the conversation will be about camping, but we'll be talking about ways to keep it clean and manage your tri gear along with camping when you're in a campground and all that. So just keep that in mind. It's one of the cool things about Wildflower, but there's some special steps you can take to mitigate that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You're used to having, either hotel rooms or you're not dealing necessarily with camping and that extra element of keeping that bike clean. I do want to let everybody know we have a few different expo spaces that will be giving free bike support
Oh, nice.
on the expo on both Friday afternoon as well as Saturday morning. I would say don't wait till Saturday morning. If you're coming in on Friday, try to get there during expo hours and you can stop by our packet pickup, get your packets, and there'll be logos that say exactly which booths you can go to do free bike support. And then there will be a couple sports basement as well as one other bike company that's going to be selling, extra tubes, extra things that you could possibly need in case you don't have those things there. Certainly don't depend on them. Go to your local bike shops before you get there. But if you happen to show up and you realize that you left that tool or any of those sort of things, we do have lots of options when you get there as well to just be that second check on your bike. So if you're unsure, Friday's your day to come in early and just make sure that you're all set and stop by those places. These people, many of them have been doing it for 10, 15 years at Wildflower, and they love seeing you guys come by and have your bike checked. It's the passion of theirs to make sure that everybody's out on those roads safe and that you're not breaking down on race day because you don't want that to be the reason that you don't get to hit nasty grades. So, okay, any other questions that we have over here? Now, we talked a little bit about the swim. We've talked a little bit about the bike, but we haven't tackled too much of the run yet. So, as far as any sort of run tips that you have, this one has a little bit of a unique circumstance because it's a combination of asphalt and there is some trail running and there's a little bit more trail running if you're doing the long course. But what is some suggestions that you should have for both training for Wildflower on the Run, but also race day suggestions for the run?
Hills are your frenemy, number one. You got to embrace them. And yeah, definitely the varying terrain. Definitely, if you can practice the hills in training, that's always a value add. The type of shoes that you choose, super shoes that don't have good stability may not be the best choice for this race. There are some carbon fiber plated shoes that do have good stability. There's some trail-based ones that have good stability. So take that into account if you are somebody who usually races in carbon plated shoes, that if they are a little bit unstable, typically they're going to be even more on this course. So definitely having some good grip is important. And remember, practice a little bit of downhill running as well. Everyone talks about uphill running, but the downhill running can be even harder on your body physically. The quads take a beating with all that downhill speed, because there are some section of the course where you can pick up some really good speed on the downhill on the run. And remember, like, controlled and being smooth is always the fastest option. Nutrition, it can get quite hot on the course, so making sure that you do stay on top of your nutrition for that run is going to be really important. But on the hills, it's for me, it's always about thinking about good technique. Driving the elbows, pushing from the hip, trying to keep my posture. Even when I'm going up a hill, it's like I sort of like just tell myself, okay, one step at a time, quick feet, good posture, get over the hill, breathe, relax. Yeah, but I think the main things is making sure that you stay on top of your nutrition, making sure that you pick a good stable shoe for some of the trails, making sure you are staying controlled on the downhill running just as much as you're controlling the uphill running. Yeah, and as I said, the hills are your frenemy. Enjoy them when you can. Take advantage of the descents. And, I always tell people when I'm racing and I'm hurting a little bit, I'm like, suffering with other people is always good. So if I'm hurting a little bit, surely somebody else is hurting, maybe a little bit more.
Yes, that's one of the things about this being a race that is so centered around community. You'll find yourself talking to the other athletes that are out there quite a bit. So you'll push each other to get to that finish line together. So, well, before we turn this over to our Tridot panel, which has a whole nother batch of suggestions for you guys, any parting words of wisdom that you have as they're kind of entering their last 2 to 3 weeks as if their training progresses, and they're looking into these last few weeks and getting ready for race day. What's your piece of advice that we can part them with tonight as they're getting ready for their wildflower experience that's just right around the corner?
Well, definitely think about the race, think about what your goals are. Um, Preparation is always key. Don't try to cram stuff in if you're a little bit short. I'm always a big believer. It's a little better to be a little slightly undertrained than overtrained. You'll have a much better race if you prepped well and you're a little undertrained than overtraining. I've never heard anyone who's had a great race if they're overtrained. Um, and enjoy the experience, enjoy the chance to like do something that has a huge history, is a part of our awesome sport, that connecting. Think about your why. I mean, that's always the one thing that's always going to get you across that finish line is that why will help you in those moments. And as I said, training is hard, racing's easy. You guys all got this. Can't wait to hopefully we can do a call where we all get on and we talk about our experiences. Um, just remember when you're crossing that finish line, smile, have a party, enjoy it. You deserve it. And good luck and best wishes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in what is the middle of your night. We greatly appreciate that. And we're sad that you're not going to be at our finish line this year necessarily, but we know that you know what that feeling is like. And we thank you for spending your time tonight with us to do that. And we know that you're going to be following many of these people because you coach so many of them. And you've gotten so many people to our start line and to our finish line. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being a part of Wildflower Experience, not only this year, but well through the years, and also for being a coach to several athletes that have helped them get to the finish line. And I think the wisdom that you gave tonight with being able to just, it's the little things. It's just saying that thing in a little different way that somebody may have caught tonight that it totally clicked with. So we thank you for that. And with that, I will allow you to hopefully get a little bit of sleep tonight, a little wink of sleep tonight. And we are going to turn it over to EJay because we have an exciting panel tonight with the Tridot crew, not necessarily just going over everything from a Tridot perspective in their technology and what they can offer. But what's really exciting is from their experience of all of them racing last year. And so they're going to come to you and they've all been there firsthand. And a lot of them had been and raced Wildflower for the first time. So when they're coming here and they're talking about a first timers experience, many of them were right there in your footsteps last year. So EJay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce the panel and take it from here.
Awesome. Well, yes, thank you so much. Yeah, with me here tonight, already on the screen, you see Ryan Tibble, and then we'll have Brandy Ramirez as another one of our panelists here this evening. And I'm really excited to have both of like these, I don't know if I want to say friends or if I want to say coaches or athletes. I mean, they hold a number of roles. But yeah, really, really cool to be with them here. So I figured the way that we should start this off is just with kind of some brief introductions. So Ryan, we'll have you go first. Just share a little bit about what I want you guys to both do is share what you did last year in terms of wildflower involvement, and then what you will be doing this year as well. So Ryan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, EJ. Yeah, this last year, what we did is I like to say we brought part of the fun to Wildflower because there was just so much fun already there, and so we got to participate and really bring out a lot of adding in some games with everybody at the event itself, as well as bringing in some educational pieces to the event, which Brandy will be sharing here in a little bit as well regarding the swim. And we also shared about RaceX and utilizing that to plan your race day. So that was a great opportunity for a lot of the athletes who took advantage of it, being able to do those things and see, oh, this is what I should do during the swim, the bike, and the run, and have a really, really fun packed day of your race day. So it lent to a really great success for many of the athletes out there, and just a ton of fun just being a part of it.
Awesome. And how about for this year, Ryan? What are you doing this year?
This year, unfortunately, I will not be in attendance. I had already had prior obligations, so but there's going to be some great folks from our team that are here on the call today, and they're going to be out there, and so I'm a little jealous. I have a little bit of FOMO now on that.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Then Brandy, over to you.
Yeah, well, first off, I would not say that Ryan hasn't done anything this year. He has definitely handed the baton over to Brady, who will be joining us, and he has helped Brady get completely educated on RaceX and to fill his shoes, which are not going to be easy because Ryan is leaving out that last year he also raced. And he forgot to talk about that part because he was a huge part of the race experience last year as well. And I believe he took second in his age group. So it's not like Ryan to not overstate his successes there. So last year I was the lead for Tridot in our activation at Wildflower, which was just an amazing experience. I'm the director of Tridot Pool School, so I love things all water related, all swimming related. One of my big things that I got to do last year was help with wetsuit fitting. And by wetsuit fitting, I don't mean helping you find the wetsuit that actually fits you. I mean actually helping you get into your wetsuit so it fits you correctly. So you have all of this like rotation in the shoulders, you feel comfortable, you could breathe. So that's one thing I love to do. And I will be doing that again this year when I come down to Wildflower, going over water safety, helping you get comfortable in your wetsuit, getting you out in that water, and making sure you have a good time.
Awesome. Yes. Well, thank you, Brandy. I know that that was an instrumental part of you being there last year, and we are excited that you will be on site again this year, helping a lot with, I mean, the whole race event, but definitely things related to the swim. So with their swim clinics and the wetsuit fitting as well, making sure athletes are set and ready to go there. I know that, we had Michellie really give a great deep dive into a lot of tips. But one of the things that I wanted to go back and just ask, and we'll start with Ryan. Ryan, since you raced last year, could you maybe tell us just either, maybe a couple insights or some vivid memories that you have of being on the course?
Yeah, well, MJ really covered a lot there, and specifically about the course itself. I mean, I can go starting with the swim. It's going to be a little cool in the morning, guys. At least from Texas, I'm used to 100-degree temps, but there it's actually it's really a dry climate, but it's cool. But once that sun starts coming out, it does warm up pretty quickly. But thinking about that in the morning from that perspective, you want to keep yourself comfortable and before you even get into the water. Once you get to that point, what from some of the logistics, there is that boat ramp. It is, I guess I must have really, really baby feet or gentle feet. And so I would say, guys, bring a pair of flip-flops that are throwaway or socks, or I would suggest flip-flops is a little easier to navigate down that boat ramp. A lot easier for sure. And then coming out of the water, take your time, like MJ said. I actually walked partially up, and then I started to get my running legs underneath me before I hit transition. Probably why I came in second place in age group anyway. So there you go. I'll take that. But as far as the bike goes, I set my bike up, and what I did is actually I rode Lynch Hill the day before, a couple days before, and got an idea what it was like. And then secondly, once I set up in my transition, I actually adjusted all my gearing so that when I hopped on my bike, I was already in an easy gear to get out of transition and start that climb up Lynch Hill. And then it just took my time up the hill itself. And so utilizing, your gearing on your bike is going to be essential, guys. If you have a bike that has two chain rings up front, you're going to want to be in that small chain ring for sure. And then in the back, you're going to want to be in the big chain ring at some point and be able to be ready to be changing gears quickly so that you don't blow yourself up or have to forcing to yourself to zigzag or anything. If you have to get off your bike, you got to get off your bike. You might have to do that for just a quick moment, but it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Remember, this is a whole different experience, and it's a ton of fun. And by the way, you get to go downhill. I will suggest, because of the ups and downs of the course itself, you think about, you need to stay on top of your hydration, your sodium, your carbs, getting that fuel in you. And you're going to have times where you're going to be moving slower up hills, and that's probably the easier time to do it. Oh, sorry, I was getting some feedback. And thinking about when you need a fuel, and take those opportunities as often as you can, because once you start going downhill, you're probably going to want to hang on to your bike a lot tighter. Okay. So right now you still have a few weeks to practice that, guys. So focus on knowing where your bottles are on your bike and being able to grab those things very efficiently on that bike course, no matter which course you are doing, and thinking about that. Now, on the run, MJ mentioned this. The shoe choice is going to be critical. I made a mistake, had my super shoes. I had my Nike Alpha Flies, and let me just tell you, I tore them up on the course. Good thing is I'm used to wearing them, so the stability wasn't too iffy, but I don't suggest wearing a super shoe like that. From that perspective. And I'm going to tell you, the aid stations on the run course, if you're not paying attention, might be some naked people at certain stations. I don't know where, but somebody said they saw them. And
the naked aid station.
Yeah. So one of the aid stations, it is a ton of fun. And as MJ did talk about, it's ups and downs. It's off-roading. It's all that. And if you just absorb the atmosphere you're in, it doesn't matter how slow, how fast you're going, you're going to have a blast. That Lynch Hill, the one you rode up and down, you get to run down it. And let me just tell you, keep that cadence up, guys, and control yourself going down that hill. So that way you save your knees and your quads a little bit. So for that finish line, and as MJ said, celebrate the finish line like no other. Have a great time going through that. It is really, really a great atmosphere. I think I remember slapping at least 20, 30 hands, lots of kids, lots of fans, lots of people. And I think Dottie, the unicorn, was waiting for me at the very end, which was a lot of fun, as well as some of my athletes that were racing with me, which was a blast. So, EJ, I can talk about so much more about this course, but I tell you what, the best experience is being there and doing it. So I'm really jealous that so many of y'all are already going to do that. So have a good time with it, and smile as much as you can, because that will get you through the day for sure. It's nothing but attitude the whole way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan.
I did not slap a lot of kids.
Yeah,
slap their hands.
All right, Brandy, I want to come to you with this next part here. For athletes that are getting ready in the morning, race morning. Michellie talked a lot about managing nerves, which was fantastic. Can you walk us through a little bit about, like, should an athlete consider a warm-up? What would you recommend as a coach? Where can they find you in terms of, like, wetsuit fitting? How far ahead of getting into the water should they think about doing that?
Sure. That's a lot of things to cover. So I'm going to start with, where can they find us? We're going to have a Tridot tent down at the bottom of the boat ramp. So those of us who will be helping with the wetsuits will be down inside that Tridot canopy. So just come to the canopy and we're happy to help you get fitted into that wetsuit so you feel fantastic. In terms of the warm-up, there's different stretches you can do. Like, I'm sure all of us watch the Olympics. We saw Mr. Michael Phelps with the arm swings. Like, you could do those for warm-ups without having to get into the water. Definitely, you could walk down to the water's edge, put some water on your hands, kind of splash it in your face. I do tell all of my athletes to bring a bottle of water with them. Do not a cold bottle of water, just a bottle of water. And once you are inside that wetsuit, you want to take the collar of that and pull the wetsuit away. Pour some of the water down in the front and pour some down in the back. This is going to get your wetsuit to relax, one, because the water is going to kind of drain through the wetsuit. It's going to relax it on you so you feel a little bit better. but it's also going to start to warm up. Your body temperature is naturally going to warm up that water, creating a little barrier between you and the water before you hit it, so it won't be so shocking when you hit a cold water.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Yeah, that warm up is important. I know that I always tell my athletes, it's like even, even on a long day like that, it's still important to really increase that core temperature, get the blood flowing, get the muscles activated. So no matter what race you're doing, spending a little bit of time to make sure that the body is ready to go and warmed up is still going to set you up for a very successful day. All right,
One
Ryan.
little tip, can I jump in though, EJ, too? Because we help in transition as well. And last year, when you come to transition in the morning, you bring your bike in and we body mark you before you walk in. Last year, there was a lot of people who already had that wetsuit on. And so we had to try to jimmy that wetsuit up over your calf to give your body marking. So please come to transition early with your wetsuit off, so the body marking happens, and then you put your wetsuit on inside transition.
Good tip. That would be tough to jimmy that wetsuit up enough to get it marking on the calf or have to take the wetsuit off again and then, oh goodness. Yep. Good time saver there. All right, Ryan, I'm gonna go back to you on this one. So as people are starting to think about, gathering gear, making sure they're all ready to travel, do you have any tips in terms of packing or especially traveling with the bike?
Absolutely. Coming from Texas, it was a little bit of a haul. In fact, my flight actually ended up getting canceled and I was a day late. So that was really fun with the bike situation. But nonetheless, if you are traveling with a bike and you are having to fly with it, pack well, pack efficiently, but know your weight limits on your airline. So double check those guys for your bikes and be prepared to pay extra in case you are overage, or don't think you can start throwing everything in that bike bag, because if they go 1 pound over, they will charge you. But once you're there though at the actual race site, I will tell you, you're not going to want to leave. So that's why I say pack well, pack efficiently. Yeah, my suggestion is start packing on Monday of the race week, and have everything starting to situate it. Start with your nutrition for race day, in fact. And I would say even typically I would begin that today. So whatever you plan on using on race day, think about your swim, your bike, and your run. If you have your own gels, your own concoctions, whatever that is, I would begin packing that stuff today, and that way you set it aside, put it in the call it your wildflower box, and keep it there. That way you don't touch it through your rest of your training weeks that you have left, and then order some more in case you are starting to run out for during your training. Um, Consider the weather fluctuations, because it does start off really cool in the mornings and then warms up in the afternoons. So you are, again, having to deal with those weather changes, and it is very dry, and it's deceivingly dry, so much that you don't feel like you're sweating. You don't feel like you're losing any fluids. I will tell you right now, you will lose a lot of fluids. So pack that hydration, overpack the hydration, bring yourself extra stuff. That way you have it there as you are, if you're camping for several days prior to, it's going to be important that you stay on top of that, because it's going to it's really easy to get behind, and you want to make sure you stay ahead of that on going into race day. Going back to the bike, thinking about this, if you are flying, rent your vehicle now. May I suggest an SUV, truck, or minivan, something big enough to reduce that stress, to hold your bike and your gear. It is so, so important. It makes life so much easier. I rented a truck. That was super easy. I could put 3 bikes in it, in the backside of it, and I still had my luggage in the front. Um, and then set aside your disciplines separately: your swim, your bike, and your run, and set those all your items out. If you need your triathlon packing list, there's plenty of resources out there to do that, and set everything aside so that you know exactly what you're going to be using for each specific discipline. And that just gives you that peace of mind, and you relax about knowing, okay, this is what goes. Take pictures of it and then pack it, right? And food, plenty of good snacks. You're going to be out there a long time. There's going to be food vendors out there too, but you may want to stick with what you know, what it's agreeable to you. And again, going back to the hydration, again, you're going to sweat more than you think, guys. It's super deceiving out there. Travel, depending upon where you fly into. LA is where I flew into. It's a 5-hour drive. Count on it. San Luis is super, super close. I think it's like maybe an hour tops to Wildflower, and San Fran is like 3 to 4 hours. Just depends on when you travel. But again, on the way in, you're going to go through a small town, and that might be your chance to pick up those little last bit extras and even a quick little bite to eat as you head into Wildflower. Because I promise you, once you're there, you're not going to want to leave. And you might have the opportunities to leave will become very limited as you get closer to events that are taking place because they have to shut down roads. Last thing I'll mention on camping, depending upon how you're staying, bring a headlamp, and it's going to be your best friend. Bring extra batteries or whatever chargers you need for that. Headlamp is something that everyone needs, and warm clothes for nighttime temp drops and extra towels as well, just in case, your towels are still a little wet. You still have those for, for your camping experience too. So lots of things. Oh my gosh. I can say so much more, but I think, those tips are really helpful, I hope. And again, hopefully this is on recording so you can listen to them again.
Yes, it will be recorded, so even those that are not able to attend live tonight will get to hear the tips. All right, Brandy, we're gonna kind of come to you for this last part here. I know we're in the final minutes of tonight's webinar, but as athletes are kind of finishing up these last few weeks of training and getting ready for race day, any piece of advice that you would give them for these final weeks and kind of the anticipation of heading to Wildflower?
Yeah. So at this point, if you've been doing your training, you've been putting in the time, your body is ready to race. And so race day is going to come down to an emotional game. I tell a lot of my athletes about this time that this is the time that you start doing the mental prep. So take the time to find a quiet room and just close your eyes and begin to go through race morning. So whatever time you're going to set your alarm clock, I want you to just like visualize that alarm clock going off. You're turning the alarm off. You're getting out of bed. You're getting up. You walk to your bathroom. You brush your teeth. Start going through every single part of race morning. And then the next day, start again. Okay, I made it to transition. So close your eyes again and start going through transition. I'm in transition. I'm getting ready. I'm racking my bike. Go through every single piece of race morning until you've crossed that finish line. Do that over the next couple weeks. Create this mental prep so that you feel like you've almost already done it. This is what some of the best people in the world do. It are, military teams. This is what they do. They mentally prep by walking through every single scenario so that when you get to race morning, it's like you've already done it. I'm here. I've done this. I feel okay. I've gone through it. I'm ready to pivot on anything that may come up on race day because I've already thought about it. I've already gone through anything that could happen. So that mental prep is just huge. And then race morning, the one thing that I tell all of my athletes, not even just my beginner athletes, is race morning when you are in the chute to go into the water, before you hit that water, take a moment where you just close your eyes, listen to the sounds around you, take a deep breath, take in the smells. It's going to smell like wetsuit and sunblock, but take a deep breath and then just open your eyes and just panoramic from side to side. Create this mental picture. You want this mental snapshot of race morning. Then when the gun goes off and it's your turn, you get into the water. When you come out and you get on your bike, I want you to do the same thing, but don't close your eyes because that's dangerous. Take a mental snapshot where you just take a moment and you just hold on to that moment for you. And then when you're on the run, the exact same thing. Take a moment where you just create a mental snapshot as you're running. Maybe it is the naked aid station. Maybe it's not, and it's something you try to forget. But find a different one. And then as you've heard from Ryan and you've heard it from EJay, when you are going down that chute, when you are at that finish line, allow yourself to just soak that in. I mean, take a moment to start dancing. Whatever it is that you want to do, create that memory of crossing that finish line. And if you have a coach, and if you don't, if you have a best friend, go through those mental snapshots, because those are the moments that you're going to carry with you from now until eternity. And so make sure that they're good moments.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Well, Brandy
Now,
and Ryan.
Brandy, really quickly, because somebody had a good question here I want to capture before you guys are done. They said, what time will your tent be open on race day for wetsuit fittings?
That is a great question. And since I am not the lead of our activation, I don't have the schedule. So I would have to defer you to Barb. Barb, who is the lead for Tridot this year at the races, she would have to answer that, or I'd have to be able to see a schedule because I don't have one yet.
Yeah, once we have the schedule, we'll finalize that, but we'll definitely be down there when transition opens. So our team will be everywhere and you can't miss us.
Yeah, so the transition does open at 6 o'clock. So they normally are down. They start in the transition area and they're helping with body marking and around that area. And then from there, they're splitting their crews and usually going down to the swim start as well, if it's like it was last year.
Awesome. Great question. Glad that we got that captured. Yeah, I know that we're kind of right at our time. So just Brandy, Ryan, thank you so much for, offering a little bit more insight. Really appreciate you guys both being here. Ryan, I know it's a little FOMO that you won't actually be on site this year. I'm with you on that. I've got the FOMO too. I won't be on site, but Brandy will be there. Barb will be there. As we mentioned, we've got others from our team. Some of them you've already seen on some of these calls. So we've got Vanessa that'll be there, Dan that'll be there. He was there last year. We got Brady that'll be there as well. So we've got a great crew that's going. And like Michellie said, it's been a joy for us to be a part of this event. I know that last year was kind of the first opportunity that we got to have a larger crew there. But we had heard from a number of the Tridot athletes and coaches that this is just one of their absolute favorite experiences. And that's the way that they described it, is just a fantastic experience that yes, it's a race, but it's memories for a lifetime. And I know that as Michellie was saying tonight, it's one that you're going to hold near and dear and should absolutely celebrate no matter which race you will be doing. So yeah, I know that, Michellie won't be there in person, but we were so excited to have her on the call tonight. She's been an instrumental part of our Tridot team, one of our Tridot coaches. She's helped a lot with our educational curriculum. She's also been one of our mentors for the Limitless initiative. So we will have a number of our Limitless athletes. That was an initiative that Tridot had earlier this year to kick off to really encourage women's participation in the sport. So we have a number of those women that are racing, and we are excited to support them there too. Whether that is like Michellie and me and Ryan from afar, or like Barb and Brandy in person. So I think that's where we'll wrap up. I know we got some great information from Michellie, Ryan, and Brandy, and Colleen. I will turn things back over to you to kind of close this out.
Yes, well, perfect. Thank you so much for your team for just coming alongside us. And you guys really brought the fun to Wildflower last year with the Tridot games. And I did see in the little chat there that somebody was asking if the Tridot games were coming back. So we will be talking about that next week, along with a full packed week next week, talking about kind of all the insider information. But most off, I just want to thank all of you guys for not only being in the business of triathlon, but really walking the talk and everything that you guys do in the sport, just from being athletes yourselves and really loving what you do. And you can see it when they're down at the swim start and they're really just wanting to make sure that every athlete is having the best race experience. And so we will stay on and continue to answer some of these questions here after we're done, but I do want to respect everybody's time because we're at that 7:45 time limit. But I wanted to go over with everybody what we're going to be kind of touching on next week. So next week is the Race Weekend Insider Guide. And so we're going to be going over what happens when you arrive to the lake. So your front gate procedures, where to find the club camping boards if you're a part of a club, how to get around the park. There is no cross streets, there's no crossroads. And so we're going to go over some of the road maps so that when you drive into the park, you have at least an idea of what you're looking for there. We'll talk about the walking trails and how to get the festival area from the various walking trails. We'll also talk about the check-in and the camping and kind of the festival vibes and stuff that we have there, because that is a whole different side of Wildflower besides just the race that you have to prep for. So we're going to go over the clinics. If any of you guys have an opportunity to take Friday off and come and join us for Friday, it is really a valuable weekend. So if you, many times you guys go and you pay for these full endurance weekends, these clinics, these camps, all these sort of things, it's already there for you. It is already coming right to you, and it's part of your festival passes when you're coming. So take advantage of that time. We have Tridot that's doing clinics. We have Brady Project that's doing clinics. We have Roca that's doing clinics. We have Zoot that's going to be doing clinics there. We have speakers that are going to be there that are talking about nutrition. We have a whole wellness center that's going to be doing not just yoga classes, but they're doing things that are specific to get you ready. So if you're driving up from LA or driving down from San Francisco, there is an afternoon yoga class that is perfect to take for somebody who has been in a car for 4 hours that comes and can stretch you out and get you ready for the weekend. So there's pre-race yoga classes, there's post-race yoga classes. So we'll be going over that. And then we have Reed, who's one of our ambassadors, who, his love of passion is actually camping. And so you take somebody who is such an avid camper, and he's going to be talking about camping 101. Like, this is what you need to take. And he'll answer all your questions on camping. So if you don't need to know, if you've never camped before, he will let you know exactly what you need to pack and make it really easy for you. And then we are even going to have a downloadable PDF so that when you're done with our session next week, you can just click the download button and we're going to have it available for you. And it will be your little cheat sheet so that you know exactly what to pack for that week. And that's going to be compliments of Sports Basement. So we've teamed up with Sports Basement. We've teamed up with Reed, and he's preparing because he's already getting ready to go on his own camping list. So or his own camping weekend. So he's preparing by doing it himself. So he'll be there. And then we will also have a little bit talking about the various resources that we're going to have on site. So we'll talk about the on-course bike support. We'll talk about the swim start support. We'll talk about, the course nutrition. We'll just touch upon that again. We had a full hour-long session on that, but we are going to just answer any of the questions that you have because that sponsor is just being announced. So there's a press release that's actually going out tomorrow on that. Never Second is our official partner. If you weren't on that session, that is our official nutrition on course. And so information, you're going to really see us feeding that out over the next week about everything that you need to know for training and picking that up. In addition, we're going to be announcing that Sports Basement is doing an extra 20% off. So anything that you need in Sports Basement, if you're in California, we'll be able to pass on a coupon to you that you can go into any of their stores and get 20% off. And that does include the nutrition. So you'll be able to get their products or camping gear or any of that kind of stuff. So hopefully all those questions that have been in the back of your mind that makes Wildflower so intimidating for those of you that are like, oh, I'm getting ready for a race and I have to get ready for a festival, we're going to answer all those questions for you. So if there's any other questions that you want us to go over next week, drop them in the chat and I'll have those answers for you next week. So stay on for just a couple of minutes here, drop them in the chat, and then that way we can have that prepared for you. Other than that, I think that's what we have for tonight. If you didn't get a chance, I did put the link for next week's chat the next week's session in the chat. So go back through the chat, find that link, copy, paste it, save it in your calendar so that you already have it. We do send it out every single week. And so many of you have been getting it that way, but just so that you have it saved and you don't have to worry about where you're going to find it next week, I put it in the chat and you can copy and paste that, and it's the link and it's ready for you for next week. And so that is available. And that is a full loaded night that we had for tonight. So thank you, Tridot, as our official partner for tonight and just providing us a valuable resource for everybody that's on tonight. And for those of you who are watching on demand, just join us next week. You can see how great it is to be able to answer all of your questions that you may have when you're actually there, and you can be able to ask them live. In addition, you can watch our social media. We are taking little parts of each of these sessions and starting to post them. And so we have a great one that Brandy did with her. She's talking about the wetsuit fitting and making sure that you get in your wetsuit properly and that it fits you good when you're getting ready to swim. So she has a little video that she did with Vanessa getting into her wetsuit last year. And so we're going to be launching that so that you can see it. But all these tips, we've got them broke them down into 90-second clips. And so if there's anything that really caught your attention, it may just jog your memory over the next couple of weeks. And so we'll be posting those. We've just started in the last couple of days, and we'll continue to do that. So hopefully this information's been very helpful. We will continue to prepare for Wildflower and looking forward to having you. We had our work weekend this last weekend, and the lake is looking wonderful, and it was beautiful out there. So thank you everyone for your time. And we were going to go ahead and stop the recording now, but I'll stay on for anybody who has any last minute questions. So